Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky claims to be science fiction. An alien projectile has turned a rural area into an uninhabitable, Chernobyl-like death trap. At the center of the zone, as the ground zero is now called, lies the Room, a magical space that grants anybody who steps inside it their greatest desire. The government has sealed off the area with a military belt guarded by trigger-happy, machine-gun-toting troops. But a few brave, desperate coyotes known as stalkers lead clients inside. Their professional code dictates that stalkers never enter the room itself, though years ago the greatest stalker of them all, a man called Porcupine, indulged himself, hoping to save his dying brother. He emerged fabulously rich and miserable. Porcupine hanged himself 1 week later. Into this cheery landscape comes our hero, a nameless stalker. He barely subsists in a damp apartment with his tortured wife and crippled daughter. He's already done 5 years in prison for escorting clients into the zone. And as he returns to lead clients back into the zone this day, his wife screams and writhes on the damp floor, sure that she'll never see him again. The stalker has 2 clients, forced by their guide to also remain nameless. One is a smarmy writer seeking inspiration. The other is a mild-mannered science professor, who mostly keeps his thoughts to himself. They brave the no man's land together at the risk of life and limb, and eventually they breach the zone. That this film ever happened is a miracle. Filmed in 2 halves, part 1 was nearly completed when the crew realized everything they had shot was unusable due to issues with the footage. This included sequences with tanks brought in especially from Moscow which could not be brought back for the reshoot. Many months and half the budget had been lost. Tarkovsky regrouped, rewrote the film, and came out with a masterpiece. A deceptively simple-looking masterpiece. The zone is abandoned, untouched. In Lawrence of Arabia, you never think about the crew needing to sweep the camel tracks away for a second shot, but they had to. Those pristine dunes don't come for free. Same thing here. The crew had to make the few tanks they had look as though they'd been overgrown for years, and they only had the tanks on loan for 90 minutes. Chalk this up next to Man with a Movie Camera and Russian Ark as a great Russian film that nearly killed its crew. This is one of 2 accidentally prophetic movies that I'm working on. The other is Wag the Dog, which predicted the fallout of the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal a month before it happened. This one predates Chernobyl by a decade, but you cannot watch it today without thinking about that glowing Russian wasteland. The zone is constantly described as a labyrinth of death traps, none of which we witness. The only thing we do see is the stalker's bedridden daughter. His wife blames their daughter's affliction on the stalker bringing the seductive, twisted elements of the zone back into their home, as if radioactivity were communicable, or as if the daughter was the wages of sin, or neglect from an addicted father, or a curse for trying to reach out to God's heights like the builders of the Tower of Babel. Tarkovsky leaves that up to us. As my boy Oscar said,
"Diversity of opinion about a work of art shows that the work is new, complex, and vital. When critics disagree, the artist is in accord with himself."
Progress towards the interior of the zone can only be made by following the trajectory of weights tied up to bandages, hurled at random by the stalker and his clients. Their path passes abandoned vehicles, into a church or bunker, under a waterfall, through tunnels, across stagnant pools, and past a tiny desert of ashy dunes. The scenery is as striking as it is unpleasant. The zone appears to talk to these men. When the writer strikes out on his own to force his way towards their destination through a straight line, a disembodied voice calls him to go back. When the professor is asked to lead the way across a meadow, we cut to a point of view shot which, as author Jeff Dyer points out, seems like it's the professor's point of view, until he and the others step into frame, and we're left wondering whose point of view this is. Is the zone itself following them? Towards the climax, the 3 collapse outside the room, and our last view of the zone is a slow retreat into the room. Who's going in there? Is the zone simply done with them, and we're seeing it retreat back into its lair? The camera is our 4th character in this film, and we never learn to trust it. At the height of the film's tense paranoia, the 3 men make it into an office near the fabled room. A phone rings. And it's for the professor. In the midst of this ruined, abandoned factory, somebody is still keeping the phone lines going. It's a small joke, but like Mia Wallace's dumb tomato joke in Pulp Fiction.
3 tomatoes are walking down the street. Papa tomato, mama tomato, and baby tomato. Baby tomato starts lagging behind, and Papa tomato gets really angry. Goes back and squishes him. Says, "Ketchup."
It breaks the tension, and we have to laugh. When the group first arrives in the zone, the dirty sepia flips into lush color. It's impossible not to think of the greatest film to ever play that same trick, The Wizard of Oz. Here we have an insecure thinker, a boastful coward, and an indestructible adventurer seeking to have their wishes granted on the other side of a perilous path. The group is even joined by a faithful dog who tries to awake them when they curl up exhausted. What we do not have is Dorothy, our audience surrogate. We are out in the wilderness on our own with these three weirdos. The movie references other iconic journeys as well. It directly quotes the story of Jesus on the road to Emmaus. But like the yellow brick road, this road to Emmaus never exactly delivers a parallel. In the book of Luke, a disguised, resurrected Jesus accompanies two mystified followers whose hearts burn at his words as they travel together, and then he vanishes when they realize that they've been walking alongside the very Messiah they were so eager to talk about. There's hints that the Stalker, this true believer who has faith in the zone and its miracles, is this film's Jesus. But instead of their own guide, the pilgrims discuss the suicide Porcupine, who is gone for good and is not their guide. Our Stalker is no Jesus. In the aborted first screenplay, the Stalker was an amoral bandit, and even in the final film, he's really just trying to make a buck. He's not trying to reveal truth. But this wrinkle takes us a little bit closer to understanding the film's enigmatic ending. From here on, I've got no choice but to dive into deep spoilers. So shut this down if you want to see this fresh. Porcupine had entered the room thinking that he could make a wish and save his brother. But the room grants our heart's one true desire, not our wishes. As Schopenhauer said, a man cannot want what he wants.
A man can do whatever he wants. You said.
He can, but he can't want what he wants.
Porcupine was given untold riches, and the naked fact that he wanted money more than his brother's life, and therefore he killed himself. It's a long movie, and offers a series of potentially final scenes. No sooner do we think the movie's over than it has another thing to say. In the last shot we see of the zone, the three men sit exhausted outside the room. The writer has no desire to enter the room. The mild-mannered professor has abandoned his terrorist plan to reveal the room to the world and then destroy it. But the Stalker? We don't know. Suddenly, we see the trio back at the bar where they initially met up. The Stalker's wife comes to collect him, and the couple tries to resume life in their rickety railway apartment. Did the men ever go anywhere? Was their journey just an extended pub crawl? The Stalker's daughter, who was described earlier as having no legs, which was never shown, in fact now does have legs, though she does need crutches. Is that a mistake made by the professor? A bad translation? Sorry, I don't speak Russian. But then the film plays fun with its color schemes. The everyday sepia flips back into the zone's full color, and the girl seems to be walking along the beach. The camera pulls back and shows us that she's actually just riding piggyback. No walkable legs. We're teased by the idea that maybe, and this is pure conjecture, the Stalker did enter the room and gave his daughter legs, or at least the ability to move. In the film's very, very weird final shot, she appears to be using telekinesis to move glasses around the kitchen table. Is that some monkey's paw gift that the room bestowed on our Stalker? And yet, in the film's opening shots, we did see glasses move across the table due to the rumblings of the train. But this time, there's no train. The movie invites debate, to say the least. If you like the movie 2001 or the original Blade Runner, this might be for you. If you like Hiroshima Mon Amour or Last Year in Marienbad, this also might be for you, although that crew has probably already seen it. I will hope that this movie could be for anybody faced with doubts about their own soul, sick to death of dreary day-to-day life, or just wanting a cerebral challenge.